Welcome back to another edition of I Did Not Sell That Much Stuff.
Won't nobody love you the way they should. Won't nobody check up on you, make sure you're good. Won't nobody check those body tremors for your neck.
Hi everyone, my name is Becky Park. I am a part-time reseller on a variety of online platforms, and in today's video we're going to be talking about what sold for me in the second week of May. Yes, I am still backed up. I'm getting caught up, I promise. But so far the month of May has not been very impressive. If you watch my last What Sold video, it was a rough week, and this week is not really that different. However, I did have one saving grace, and I'll explain what that was here in a little bit, that helped the week not be like a total loss. Like, it was definitely better than last week. But if you watch last week's What Sold video, I talked about how that particular week was the week of my spring musical. If you didn't know, I am a high school choir teacher, and so there are some really busy seasons at school where I've got things like musicals and performances and stuff like that. So in this particular week, this is the week of May 9th, I was coming off of a 2-week stretch where I basically had not listed a single thing. I had not listed anything, and I wasn't shipping things out as quickly as I typically do. There was a lot going on to kind of jeopardize my reselling business, and I couldn't really do anything about it, so I wasn't going to sweat it. In this week that we're going to talk about, although the musical was done, I had my spring choir concert, and we had graduation to prepare for. So there was still kind of a lot going on, but if I remember correctly, because now this is like a couple weeks ago, there was some time for me to actually list, a handful of things here and there. So while sales didn't immediately pick up, because that's not how reselling works. I feel like with reselling, you need to be consistent for like a month, and then you start to see things kind of blow up. If you're like, I listed things for 3 days in a row, how come I don't have a gazillion sales? That's why. Like, it takes a lot of consistency before you start to see things really pay off. So on that note, let's go ahead and jump into the video. We're going to start off by talking about Monday, which was May 9th. I started off the week with just Poshmark sales this day. So the first thing to sell was this Columbia yellow and blue plaid short sleeve button-up shirt in a men's 2XL. This sold for $15 with discounted shipping because I used a service called Poshmark, which, it's a Chrome extension that does things like share your Poshmark closet. They will send out offers for you. They will delist and relist listings, follow people. I mean, all the things that we're supposed to do on Poshmark, but like no one actually wants to sit there and do themselves, because who has time for that? I don't have time for that. Do you? Because I don't have time for that, I use Poshmark. And if you wanted to try it out for yourself as well, they do have, I want to say, like a 2-week free trial period. And I do have a coupon code, which is Becky Park, that allows you to save 20% off of your first payment on Poshmark. So that, for me, especially if you're a Poshmark seller, is like a non-negotiable. Like, I have to have it at this point. So Poshmark is the one that sent out the offer, which helped me make this sale. I had $1.02 into this because I got it as part of a reseller buyout from someone who lives local to me and no longer wanted to resell. So I made a profit of $9.26. We're not starting off with a killing, but we're selling things, and that's what counts. The next thing to sell was very exciting. It was this pair of Madewell Alice Brown Python leather open-toed heel strappy sandals in a women's size 8. Those sold for $40. I think I had them listed for $50. I got the $40 offer. I was like, yep, you can have them. I had $1.50 into them because I bought them from my friend who was a reseller, and she was moving. So I bought out all of her inventory from her so she didn't have to move with her inventory. So once you factor in Poshmark's 20% fees and my cost of goods, I made a profit of $30.50 on those. I have had luck selling shoes by Madewell. What I have noticed, however, for me at least, is that while they sell and sell for pretty good money, they do not sell quickly. I don't know if that experience is the same for you. You can let me know down in the comments below. But I get like a good amount of attention on them right up front. I just don't sell them that quickly. So I don't know. It is what it is. The next thing to sell was this pair of American Eagle tan next level stretch skinny jeans in a men's size 28 by 30. These came to me in a men's third rescue box, and my average cost of goods for that box was $3. I would not have picked these up myself at a thrift store just because I know that color denim isn't super a thing right now. Plus, this was kind of a weird color, but it showed up to my house and went ahead and listed it and made my money. These sold for $15. That was the offer that I got. I bet parents would buy these for their kids who go to schools with like a uniform policy. They kind of look like khakis. Kids could kind of get away with wearing these. So I made a $9 profit on those. On Tuesday, which was May 10th, I had 0 sales. And believe it or not, this is not the only $0 sales day. When I tell you that May was rough for me, I'm not joking. But moving on to May 11th, which was Wednesday, and my brother's birthday. Happy birthday. But the first thing to sell on Poshmark was this Adidas black and white striped straight leg elastic waist sweatpants in a size 2XL. These also sold for $15. A lot of things sold for $15 this week, as you will see. These came to me in that same men's thread-up rescue box, so I had $3 into them, and I made a profit of $9. I would not pick up this kind of very basic Adidas pull-on pant. I feel like there are some Adidas pants that are worth picking up for sure. Either like the very, very new styles or like the 90s track pants with like the snap buttons on the side, like this, you know, when you do this and like the pants come off, revealing hopefully some shorts underneath. Those were like the cool pants to wear in PE when you were younger, you know, like all the cool kids wore them. I don't think I ever had a pair because they were expensive from what I remember. But yeah, if I found those, I think I would definitely purchase them because there's a lot of nostalgia tied up into them. These kind of basic sweatpants, not really. And then Mercari, it was a good day. I had 3 sales. The first thing to sell was this vintage Sport Haley is the brand, geometric lined golf skirt in a size 4. I had never heard of this brand. It did not look like much, but because it was like golf related, I was like, I'll go ahead and list it because golf stuff has been selling really well for me. So this sold for $15, which is not a lot, but it sold fast. It sold within 2 weeks. And I had $3.92 into this because I got it from a wholesale pallet from a fellow reseller. So I only made a profit of $8.84 on that, which is fine. It's not something that I would pick up at a thrift store. Maybe at the bins I would because I'd be paying less than $1 for something like this. And like I said, if you list golf stuff at the right time, it'll sell. But yeah, you don't need to like go out and buy all the Sport Haley stuff that you can find. The next thing to sell was by the brand Chaser. Chaser used to be such a hot brand. I never find it, so I was really excited when I found it at a consignment store probably sometime last year. And already it had kind of run its course as a brand, but I still picked it up. I had $4.92 into it because that was my average cost of goods for that particular consignment store trip. But it was this graphic t-shirt with like a lion on it, and I think it's a brave spirit, and it had like paint splatters all over it, and it was in a size small. I thought it was actually really cool. Sometimes I wear graphic print t-shirts, but for the most part, I don't. So I was like, I'm just going to sell this. I did contemplate, you know, keeping it for myself, but it sold for $20. And so I made my profit of $12.20. The next thing to sell was a pretty good sale. It was this Judith Ann vintage silk beaded dress set. It wasn't really a dress set. It was like a skirt suit set, not even a skirt suit, but it basically had a top and a matching like knee-length skirt. It was this very heavily beaded and sequined piece. I got it from my mother-in-law because probably like 5 years ago, my husband and I were going to have I think it was more than 5 years ago. I think it was like 6 or 7 years ago. My husband and I were having a garage sale, and she found out, and she had some stuff at her house that she was like, oh, no one wears this stuff. No one uses this stuff. You guys can sell it at your garage sale. So we were like, okay. And she gave me 3 pieces. They're kind of like costume pieces almost by this brand Judith Ann. They were all heavily beaded and sequined and really quite gorgeous. 100% silk. This one is kind of the most dowdy one of the 3. The other ones that I sold, one was actually very what I would call like the perfect kind of vintage piece where it's not so off in its style that it's like inaccessible, but it kind of had like a crop top feel almost, and it kind of had like a flapper vibe. I don't know how to describe it. It was beautiful. This one, like I said, was a little dowdy, a little like old lady-ish, but it sold for $43. You know, the other pieces sold for like around $100, but this one sold for $43. I was extremely happy to get rid of it because I probably listed it like 3 or 4 years ago. So I made a profit of $37.15 on that. Moving on to Thursday, which was May 12th. This was the beginning of a 3-day drought on Poshmark. I had a 3-day drought on Poshmark last week as well. So, you know, the struggles with Poshmark continue. I think it's gotten a little bit better in the month of May since I've been a little bit more consistent with listing and whatnot since, you know, school is over and I'm able to, you know, sit down and get my listings done, but it's still kind of rough out there. But on eBay, I sold this vintage Enza, which is a brand that I've never heard of, V-neck checkered pullover windbreaker in a men's size 4XL. I've never heard of this brand, and to be honest, if I had seen it at a thrift store, I would not have picked it up. but I got it from that local reseller buyout for $1.02. So I went ahead and did a little bit of research, listed it for $25, it sold for $20, and I made my profit of $15.11. So now I know if I see something similar to this style, this brand at like the bins or something, I might consider getting it. I don't think I need to purchase it at like a thrift store or something like that for more than a couple bucks, but if I can get it really cheap, it's like it depends on how I'm feeling that day, I guess. Moving on to May 13th, which was a Friday. So Friday the 13th, again, I had one eBay sale, and it was this pair of new with tags, cool Rebel Classic Fit raw steel taper pants in a size 40 by 34. Sorry, I just got a super low ball offer on something, and I had to explain to the buyer why I was not gonna take their offensively low offer. So anyway, this pair of pants I purchased retail arbitrage, which means that I bought it at an actual retail store while it was clearance down with the intent of reselling it myself. I purchased it at the store for $26.39, which is crazy expensive. Like, I would typically never pay that much for something to resell. However, they retail for $85, and they hold their value really well because people love cool pants. I get a lot of comments from people who are like, this is the only brand of bottoms that my husband will wear or my partner will wear or whatever. It's just a very trusted brand with a very loyal following. So if you ever find cool at the thrift store, oh my goodness, like, you should pick it up. These sold for $74.99, which was my full asking price. And so even though I only made a profit of $29.39, I shouldn't say only, because that's a great profit. But again, if I can make $20, $30 profit off of something, I'm happy to do it. Moving on to Saturday the 14th of May, nothing sold. $0 sales day. So love that for me. Not. Moving on to Sunday, which was May 15th. I had a really good Poshmark day, actually, and I don't know why. I don't think I did anything special, but it was just a good day. So the first thing to sell was this Layer 8, which I think is a brand maybe sold at places like Kohl's, JCPenney. Those are my go-to when I know it's kind of like a lower end brand and I don't know where it's from. I'm like, Kohl's? JCPenney? It's probably right. But it was this blue short sleeve exercise shirt in a size small. This I got for free from a friend of mine at church to resell. So it sold for $10 and I made a profit of $7.05. That's been listed for like 2 years. Do not go out there and pick up all the Layer 8 that you can find. It's not going to sell for a ton. The next thing to sell was this Wrangler Western Pearl Snap button-up shirt in a blue-brown colorway in a men's size extra large. This sold for $25, and I had $1.02 into it because it was part of that local reseller buyout. So I made a profit of $18.98. This is one of those things that I don't think I would have picked this up at the thrift store. I don't, get this whole aesthetic, but because it was part of that reseller buyout and it was in my house, I was faced with some choices regarding this piece and other pieces that I didn't know anything about. I could just donate it because I don't want to deal with it, or since I've already paid for this, I can learn a little bit more about it, see if there's any value in it. And sure enough, when I looked it up, I was like, oh, I think I could get away with listing this for $25. I didn't expect to sell it for $25, but it sold for my full asking price. And again, that is one of the things that I have enjoyed about shopping in bulk in this way. And to be honest, it's not like I've gone out of my way to look for these different, opportunities to buy out people's inventory and whatnot. These opportunities would just present themselves to me, mainly because I'm very vocal about what I do. The very first time that I bought out someone's inventory, it's because a friend of mine who started reselling because of me, and because of what I was sharing on my channel, because she was moving, she was like, I don't want to take this stuff with me, but I bought out her inventory. She had some really great stuff that she had learned about from me, but also stuff that she had just kind of discovered on her own. And I was able to learn from her, from buying her stuff essentially and having to research some of the brands that I didn't know anything about. That's the same situation that happened with this local reseller who reached out, and she was like, hey, I follow you on Instagram, I watch your YouTube videos, and although I love reselling, I just can't do it anymore right now for personal reasons. Would you like to buy my stuff? And I was like, sure. I'm not necessarily like asking to buy out people's inventory on Instagram or YouTube or even locally. People are just finding me. And it doesn't take a lot of people's inventory to very quickly feel overwhelmed and to all of a sudden have way too much stuff. And then the most recent opportunity was a reseller contacted me who lives a couple states away, but she was like, hey, I have too much inventory. Can I sell it to you wholesale? And so that's what I did. It's not like I've been looking for opportunities to buy stuff in bulk, and it's not that I would recommend it for everybody. One, you for sure need to make sure you have the space, and I could probably do a whole separate video about this because there's a lot of things you want to do to make sure that the kind of stuff you're going to get is stuff that you want to resell. But especially with the case of this local reseller, a lot of her stuff, I was just like, what is this? Like, I'd never heard of the brand before, or never thought to pick up the style before, but a lot of her stuff has done so well, and I've learned so much about different brands and different styles, and this is a perfect example of that, this Wrangler, cowboy shirt, essentially. So I'm very thankful to have learned about these pieces because of her and because of this risk that I took, essentially. The next sale also came from that same reseller lot. It was this Jaguar, like the car, red pearl snap button-up canvas work shirt in a size extra large. This sold for $20. Again, I had $1.02 into it. I made a profit of $14.98. I would never have picked that up myself, but there you go. The next thing to sell was kind of a bust. It was by the brand Roots, which is a Canadian brand, and they make some really cute casual clothes. It was this red short sleeve Chicago sweater dress in a size small. There was someone on Poshmark, and I can't remember if they had advertised on Instagram that they were shutting down their closet, or maybe they were just running a great sale. I cannot really remember. But somebody on Poshmark was running kind of a decent sale. I threw a bunch of stuff in a cart. Maybe I got 5 things or something like that. But the average cost of goods per item was $26.16, which is not super cheap. There were some higher end pieces in there that I actually did really well with and have already sold. I think of those 5 pieces, this was the last thing to sell. And this I actually had purchased with the intent of wearing it myself. However, once I got it and tried it on, I was like, oh no, this does not work for me. This does not look good on me. And that's why I decided to include it in my cost of goods and go ahead and list it. So it only sold for $34, and that was after a very long time of being listed. I want to say at least half a year, if not longer. And so I only made a profit of $1.04. It seems like a huge bust, but I see it more as breaking even, in the sense that I had bought it for myself, it didn't fit, so now I, made my money back at the very least and passed it on to someone else who hopefully, will enjoy it. The next thing to sell was a pair of American Eagle high-rise jeggings. They were the Dream Jean skinny jeans. Their names sometimes, in a size too short. These sold for $22. I had $3.50 into them from a local thrift store, so I made a profit of $14.10. I did talk a little bit about American Eagle denim last week in last week's What Sold video. I will say, even though people are getting away from jeggings and super skinny jeans and whatnot, I do think that the American Eagle jeggings, especially with a high rise, and then especially if there's distressed detail on them, kind of have a cult following. People really enjoy their jeggings for whatever reason. And so if you find them, especially at the bins or something like that, they could still be a really good pickup, and you could still make $15 to $18 profit on those. The next sale on Poshmark was great. It was this pair of Mephisto, which is a comfort brand, very similar to Birkenstock and similar to, what are the others? Sanita, but it was this pair of red leather Mary Jane square toe wedges in a size 10. So again, on my channel, we've been talking a lot about how shoes for women in larger sizes have been selling really well. This is no exception. Plus, it's a comfort shoe, and so these sold for $50, and I only had $3.99 into them from a local thrift store, so I made a profit of $36.01. That's a pretty good sale in my book. The next thing to sell was over on eBay, and it was this J. Crew Factory sun-washed Oxford tailored pink button-up shirt in a size small for men. I despise selling men's button-up shirts, usually because they're just so wrinkled by the time you go to list them. So you have to like steam them or iron them and get them looking good before you can photograph them, because otherwise they look crazy. But this, I did actually have a watcher on. And so I sent out an offer of $14.90, which was accepted. This I got in a men's ThredUp rescue box. If you order a men's ThredUp rescue box, you are guaranteed at least a couple button-up shirts. But I had $3 into this item, so I made a profit of $9.57. Like, button-up shirts will sell, especially if they're by a good brand. I, again, feel like they kind of take a little bit longer to sell, and I just don't enjoy selling them, but I have a ton. On Mercari, I sold this pair of Children's Place multicolor tie-dye slip-on shoes in a size 2, like a youth 2. These I purchased at a local kids consignment store for my daughter because she just needed casual shoes that she could get wet and yeah, just run around in. However, she wore them a few times and she was like, these are really uncomfortable. They're like cutting into my feet. And that's because they were very narrow. And so we just went ahead and listed them. I listed them for $10. I made a profit of $8.41. I think I only paid like $1.99 for them at that consignment store, but I didn't even count that as my cost of goods because she did wear them a little bit. The next thing to sell was over on Kitizen. It was this pair of Keen purple hiking waterproof sandals in a youth size 12. Keen is a great activewear outdoor shoe brand. However, I think that this particular style of hiking sandal from Keen is by far the thing that they're most well known for, and something that you will always make some really good money on. Everybody in my house, with the exception of my husband who refuses, everyone in my house owns a pair of these Keens because every summer we like to go to like Seattle or different places where we can do some hiking, just go up in the mountains and whatnot. And these hiking sandals have amazing grip. You can get them wet. They're waterproof. Like if you're hiking and there's like a stream that you have to cross or something, these are amazing, amazing shoes. They're really comfortable. And so whenever I find a pair, I always pick them up. However, the one thing you want to do is check on the inside of the shoe, because Keen on these particular hiking sandals, they only put the size on like a little circular sticker that's on the side of the inside of the shoe. And that sticker can rub off so easily. And if you don't have the sticker with the size on it, you don't know what the size of the shoe is. And I can't tell you how many times I have picked up Keens only to realize, crap, I don't even know what the size of these Keens are. And it's infuriating. You know what I mean? So if you are going to pick up these hiking sandals, do yourself a huge favor. Make sure that the sticker is there. And if you want to learn more about different shoes, brands and styles that you can pick up to sell for $35 or more, I actually have a video about that I will link right here and down in the description below. A lot of people have said that video was really helpful for them, so definitely check that out if you haven't already. But these sold for my full asking price on Kitizen of $34.95. Now on Kitizen, I do offer free shipping, but because these were so little, they were like a youth size 12, which is like for toddlers. They didn't even weigh a pound. So between shipping and my cost of goods, which was $4, I still made a profit on these little baby Keens of $20.85. Pick up these Keen hiking sandals. So finally, this week really kind of felt pretty crappy in terms of sales, but I did have my April payout for the RealReal come in. In the month of April, I had only sold 5 items, and I'm not going to share what those items are with you today. If you want to learn more about how my first 3 months on the RealReal went, I do actually have a video right here that I just made talking about that, and I will link that video down in the description as well. But I sold 5 items. I'll just share one with you because this was such a great sale. It was this Emmanuel Ungaro, which is a great designer, and it was like a vintage piece by this brand. It was from the 1980s, and it was this black and red wool evening jacket. It was so cool. It was kind of like a vest built into a jacket. I don't even know how to explain it. I picked it up at a Goodwill near my in-laws for $7.99. And this Goodwill, I do like to go to it because I have found some good pieces there, but it's so big. They have so much stuff, and the payoff isn't really worth it in terms of how much you have to flip through racks in order to find anything good. And this particular day, it was okay, and then I found this piece, and I was like, well, we can just go home now. This is all I need. So this item, I picked it up for $7.99. It sold on the RealReal. I don't have the exact amount, but it sold for, I want to say, around $330. I made a profit. My payout for that item, because I got a 60% commission off that sale, was $213.60. Now, this kind of sale for me, which resulted in a net profit on that sale of $205.61. Now that kind of the RealReal sale for me is definitely the exception, not the norm. Typically I'm making like $8 here or $10 there on an item. I'm not making $200 on an item, but that was just a great find. And I do firmly believe that I made more on that piece from the RealReal than I probably would have been able to make myself. That's a perfect example of a wonderful the RealReal transaction. I have not had very many of those yet, but we're still trying. We're still trying to learn the platform and see what happens. So definitely check out that video if you want to see the other 4 items that sold in the month of April, as well as everything that sold for me in the months prior. Those were my sales for the week. Let's go over my numbers, which won't be super impressive, but that's okay. I'm not here to impress you. I'm just here to share what my reselling week looked like. So on Poshmark this week, I sold 10 items, and that was for a gross sales amount of $246. Once you factor in any discounted shipping that I had offered and Poshmark's 20% fees, that total drops to $193.13. I had $44.21 as my cost of goods for those 10 items, and so I made a net profit of $148.92, which is not great. That means I only made a net profit, like an average net profit of $14.89 per item, which is, you know, like we want to do better than that. But it was a rough week and I was going to take whatever I could get. On eBay, I sold 3 items, which is so sad, for a gross sales amount of $109.89. And once you factor in eBay's fees, that total drops to $84.48. However, you also have to factor in the fact that my cost of goods for those 3 items was insanely high because of that pair of cool pants, where that by itself, the cost of goods was almost $27. So my cost of goods for those 3 pieces was $30.41, which brought my net profit all the way down to $54.07. That's why it's really important when you hear resellers giving you their numbers. It's always impressive when they tell you their gross sales amount. Always, because you're like, oh my gosh, they made so much money. But that's because you don't know how much they're actually paying for their inventory. You don't know what their overhead costs are like. You don't know if they have employees and what they're paying them. And that's why I try to share with you my net profit, because $109.89, that sounds cool. And then to learn that what I was able to pocket from that was only $54.07, you're like, oh my gosh, that's basically half. And that's definitely not the norm for me. I usually make much more than only, 50% of what my gross sales amount was. But that is the reality, is that sometimes that's how it goes, depending on how much you paid for things. And that's why I share my numbers with you in this way, so that you can see the progression of like, this is what you think you made, but then once you factor in all the extra costs, it actually ends up here. On Mercari, I sold 4 items. So Mercari, I actually sold more than eBay. And my net sales amount was $88. Once you factor in Mercari's fees, that drops to $75.44. I had $8.84 as my cost of goods, and so my net profit was $66.60, which was higher than eBay. That doesn't happen often, but it does every once in a while. On Kidizen, I sold 1 item, and it was that pair of Keens. So my gross sales amount was $34.95. Once you factor in shipping, which I did pay for on Kidizen, and once you factor in Kidizen's fees, that total drops to $24.85. I had $4 into those pair of Keens, so I made a net profit of $20.85. On the RealReal, I sold 5 items for a gross sales amount of $303.80. My cost of goods for those 5 items was $35.86, so I made a net profit on the RealReal of $267.94. And that's not really like a fair portrayal with the RealReal, as far as, these are my like weekly numbers, and that's what I made on the RealReal over the course of a month. But because I wait till I get the actual payout from the RealReal to include it in my numbers, because things could change, things could get returned, all that sort of stuff. So this is just the best way that I've figured out how to do it. But don't be misled into thinking that that's how much I made in 1 week in the RealReal. That was 1 entire month, and it's not that much. So in total, we talked about 23 items that sold this week. Again, than those 5 items from the RealReal. Not really, but whatever. And that was for a gross sales amount of $782.64. Once you factor in shipping and fees, that total drops to $681.70. My cost of goods for those 23 items was $123.32. And so my net profit was $558.38. You know, I talked about this a little bit in my previous videos, but consistency is really the essence of reselling. If you don't have consistency, you don't have a reselling business. And the reason for that is because even if you have a ton of stuff listed, if you are not active on your reselling platforms, they're just not gonna really help you out in the algorithm when it comes to making sales, because they want to reward people with sales when they are showing activity on those platforms, because then in their mind they're like, oh, this person is still an active member of our community and they're going to give our community a good experience, versus you haven't been on the platform in 8 days. They're wondering, like, does this person even still sell here? Will they even ship this item out in time? I went through a period 2 to 3 weeks where I was anything but consistent on my various reselling platforms, and it shows. I paid for it dearly, and it is going to take some time to kind of build that back up, and that's just how it is with anything, you know, like this is kind of a weird shift, but even, you know, for myself as a musician, as a piano player, when I take a break from playing piano, it's not like I can jump in and just pick up where I left off. I have to really kind of dust off the cobwebs, and it takes a while to get back to even where I was ability-wise when I left off. There's some kind of catch-up that's involved, and then you can improve again. And I do think that that is one of the hard things about reselling, is that people think, okay, I'm just gonna take a 2-3 week break, and when I come back, it'll just pick up where it left off. That's not how reselling works. And I'm not saying that to scare you into not taking breaks. I'm not saying that to scare you into, you know, not giving yourself time to breathe, but I'm just stating the reality of the situation, which is take all the time that you need. I did. I took, 2 to 3 weeks to not list, but understand that coming back from that is going to be a little bit challenging. You're going to have to show a lot of consistency for a good amount of time before things can get back to normal. And then from there, you can grow again. That's just how reselling works. It kind of stinks. I get that. But that's the reality, and I don't want to sugarcoat that. So that's what my sales look like. I don't know. I feel like things are getting a little bit better, but very soon here I'm going to be leaving for a couple weeks on a trip. I am trying to make sure that I have listings planned out so that I don't go for another 2 weeks without listing anything. Pray for me, send good thoughts so that things don't just poop, but we'll see what happens. I have only so much control. So that was it for today. If you enjoyed this video, if you learned anything, please make sure that you hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet either, I would so appreciate it if you would consider subscribing. But thank you for spending your time with me today. I really appreciate the fact that you could be doing anything else, but you spent your time with me. So thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.